Lux was the prince of the former empire, and he had powers that allowed him to destroy entire armies alone. He was known as the Dark Dragonite, but after being defeated, he wakes up and sees himself locked up inside a prison cell. A girl approaches him, and he begs her to listen to him, saying that he can explain everything. He tells the girl that a cat had stolen a woman's purse, and as he was chasing it, he happened to accidentally fall into the school's shower room. He had fallen on top of a girl and wondered how he got there, and thought that he needed to come up with something to get out of this situation fast. He tells the girl that she's cute and that she's a knockout. She called him a hoodlum, and he realizes that the girl doesn't care about his story at all. She asks him if the sword device is his, and tells him it's rare to see a man carrying two of them, especially a black one to begin with. Another girl comes, asking her what she's doing here. The new girl tells him that the headmaster wants to meet him, and they drag their prisoner with them. A new girl tells him that he must have nerve for peeping on girls showering, and he tries to tell her the story again. However, he realizes that he's actually in an academy and apologizes to the headmaster for causing the ruckus. The headmaster recognizes him as the prince of the former empire that fell in the previous war, and the headmaster tells them that she knows this kid, and he would never have the balls to even stare at a girl if she asked him to.
Emotional damage!
She asks him if he knows about this academy. She tells him girls have a higher aptitude for riding the mechanized dragons, so this happens to be an all-girls school that is intended to train them. However, she wants him to work here, and he asks her why she would ask a man to do this. She tells him that it's rare for boys to be able to ride the mechas. The girls yell at her, and the blonde girl comes in and says that it's unacceptable that he would work here. He realizes she's the girl whose plot he saw, and the girls warn her that he will develop plot with her again if she gets close. The headmaster tells him that she'll leave him at the mercy of the girl, and the girl orders him to fight her. Anyone feeling like they have deja vu of a blonde girl fighting the only guy in a school full of girls? Yeah, me neither. The girls think that there's no way she can lose against a man, but the headmaster warns her, saying that he won a tournament undefeated, and he's known as the undefeated weakest one. She thinks that he's just a perv and that she will put him in his place. She tells him that this duel between them will decide his fate. If he loses, he will become a criminal for his actions. She tells the girls to inform everyone that the new kingdom's princess will be fighting the former prince. He asks her what she means, and she tells him that she's the first princess of the new kingdom that destroyed his empire 5 years ago. She tells him it's nice to meet him, and he wonders how he ended up here. His sister meets with him, asking him what he's doing at her school. He apologizes and asks the girl if she's gonna be standing the whole time. She tells him that she will because she heard that he will lift her skirt if she gets too close. And she tells him that it's disappointing that her friend's brother is a useless perv. His sister asks him how she would pay his debt if he's incarcerated, and tells him that they've been considered criminals since the war, so they already have a very large debt to pay. She tells him that he needs to be more responsible, and he tells her he's been trying his hardest to do that. The girl tells him his efforts are very clear by how desperate he is to grab girls in their baths.
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment, and I don't expect to be forgiven.
His sister tells him to behave himself, and tells him that he must beat the girl at all costs. He enters the ring and hears the entire crowd screaming for him. Machines begin to deploy a barrier, and they commence the match for him to fight against the new princess. The girl asks him if he knows why she challenged him to this duel, and he asks if it's because he used to be a prince. She tells him he'll get to know if he wins. The match begins and he chants his summon. She tells him that he looks pathetic, and that her machine is on a completely different level. She has a divine raiment. His sister knows that this type of machine has an ability that generic machines can't do anything about, and that only the most skilled can even use them. The teacher tells them to start fighting, and she begins firing at him right away. He flies around to dodge her bullets, and she tells him to show her a good time because she likes it rough. He attempts to dodge her magical ability, but gets a direct attack. He asks her if they would be able to work things out if the match ends in a draw. He tells her he's truly sorry for what happened in the bath, and the girl thinks that he's not just some random imbecile. He's the king of morons. She summons her cannon. The girl tells him that he should get rid of his dragon and use the sword he's hiding. He apologizes because he won't be using it, and the girl tells him he will meet his doom. Her metal weapons begin flying at him, but he dodges and parries them at incredible speeds. However, she fires her laser beam at full throttle. His sister's friend realizes he's about to lose, but his sister tells her that he won't be losing that easily. The princess wonders how he's still alive and feels like he's toying with her, so she decides to unleash her ultimate weapon and activate its full energy. She tells him to beg for mercy from her divine raiment and sends a gravitational attack that sends him crashing towards the ground. Her energy is beginning to run out, but she tells him that it's over for him. However, her weapons begin crashing into each other, and they realize she's losing control. He tells her to hurry out of her machine, but she tells him that she won't lose like this. A sound is heard from the distance, and the barriers disappear. They see an abyss dragon eating at the machines, destroying them. All the students are informed that they must evacuate. The abyss begins firing towards the princess, and Lux defends her from the oncoming fire. They begin dodging the abyss's attacks, and the girls are scared. Eri comforts them, telling them that her brother won't lose against a single abyss. Lux rushes away from the dragon, and she remembers him asking her to help him destroy the abyss because he can't destroy it alone. He told her that he will signal her to use her cannon, and that she should be ready for his signal. He dodges across the sky, firing against the dragon, and baiting it towards his trap. The abyss begins rushing towards the princess, but he distracts it. However, the abyss slashes his arm off. The princess uses this opportunity and fires at the dragon, annihilating it. Lux comes crashing down, and Ms. Tsundere goes to check up on him. Shower plot progresses again, and she thinks that this is the first time a man has ever tried to protect or help her. Inside his dorm, he dreams in pain, remembering himself staring at a pond, and hearing his brother asking him what he intends on doing. His brother had asked him if he was willing to stay by his side, or if he had his own plans. He wakes up from his dream and sees that the princess is here to take care of him. He asks her why she's here, and she tells him it's because he saved her. She introduces herself as Adismata. She tells him that she's grateful for him saving her, and tells him that she's a lenient and generous princess. They stare at each other and laugh, and she tells him that she trusts him. She says that she'll let him know the real reason for her duel, and she tells him that she couldn't let him get away with seeing that in the shower, and he apologizes for seeing her plot, but calls it pretty. She tells him that he's a filthy dog and that he should drop dead. She tells him that she was talking about this and goes on to show him a mark above her plot. She tells him that she hasn't ever told anyone about this and that he should keep it a secret. He tells her that he'll keep it a secret and swears on his swords that he will keep it a secret. She asks him why he refused to use his sword during the duel, but he doesn't know what to say. She tells him that his punishment will be attending this all-girls school. She tells him to call her Lisha as if she was his classmate, and leaves. A girl was spying on them and wonders who this Lux Arcadia guy is. The next day, the teacher introduces Lux to the rest of class and tells him to greet them. He introduces himself, and Lisha has taken a liking to him. The girls think he's cute and think he must be extremely powerful. He wishes he could just go home and sees a pink-haired girl he recognizes as Philofi. He thinks it's been 7 years and tells the teacher that she's a childhood friend of his. The teacher allows him to sit next to her, and Lisha gets jealous. He asks Philofi if he could borrow her textbook, but she tells him to call her Phi. The rest of the class begin thinking they're cute for their nicknames, and she gives him her textbook and calls him Lou. Poor Lisha is getting Later on, the girls ask him if he's a handyman. One of them requests his hand for service.
What do you mean by that?
And the other girl thinks that she wants some of that too.
Are you sure about that?
One of them decides to create paper requests so they could all get service from him, and begin calling him Luxie. Lisha comes up to him and tells him she also has a request. She tells him that from now on, she wants him to be her exclusive personal assistant. She tells him it's the least he can do since he saw her plot. Phi gets up, telling Lisha that she's making him uncomfortable. They begin fighting, and Lisha gives her a donut to back off. She eats it, and tells her that Lou is uncomfortable, and that she should back up. Krulsifer, geez these names man, we'll call her blue-haired from now on. Crew Girl tells Lisha that the headmaster asked her to take care of him. Lux agrees to get out of this mess and walks away with her. He thanks her for getting him out of that mess and asks her why she would do that. She asks him if he's heard of the Black Hero, the legendary drag knight who single-handedly brought down the entire empire. She tells him that no one knows who he is and that she has a request for him. Find the Black Hero, she commands him, because she has personal business with him. He remembers his brother telling him that the army put his childhood friend on the list of human experimentation. He tells his brother that he doesn't want to kill people. He wakes up the next day, wondering what that dream was. He grabs Plot and thinks the blanket feels good. However, he realizes he's grabbing Plot and runs away. He asks her why she's here, and she tells him that this is her room and that they slept together because of that. He tells her to cover herself up because he can see everything. Eri tells her brother that she's surprised how he could transfer to this school and already develop more Plot yet again. He tells her that it's not like that, and he tells her that the headmaster paired them together because there were no other vacancies and that she trusts him with her sister. Eri warns him to be careful because rumors are already going around about him. She leaves, and he asks her why she's leaving so soon. She tells him that if she stays by his side any longer, she won't be able to leave him. She tells him it's a joke and leaves. He goes inside a barn and says that he's here for a request. He sees Lisha lying on the floor and asks her who the manager of the shop is. She tells him that she's the manager and shows him his repaired dragon. He asks her how she's able to do such a great job, and she tells him that she did this so he could join the school's night squad. She tells him she saw potential in his skills and she would like him to lend his strength for their new kingdom. He takes the sword, telling her he'll do what he can. She tells him she's glad he could join, but that she has one more request of him. They spend the day walking around holding hands, and she tells him that they must get to know each other to be better knights. She takes him to a restaurant and he thinks this place is expensive. She tells him she's a princess so she can definitely take him out, but realizes that she forgot her wallet. They still get food, and she apologizes because she wanted to be the one to treat him to lunch. She tastes his big long creamy stick and thinks it's delicious. She blushes and tells him that she wants to feel it on her chest. I mean, she wants his warm cream on her chest. You know what, never mind. Just spam Rip Lux in the comment section because he has to deal with a tsundere every day. The fake fans will never expect it. They go on top of a tower, and she tells him she loves the view. He tells her that he used to come here to clean this place when he was younger, and she wonders how he was a handyman prince. He tells her he's impressed by how she's a princess but is able to repair those machines so well. She walks away, asking him what he thinks it means to be and act like a princess. She tells him that 5 years ago, she was captured as a war hostage to be used against the king, her father. She tells him that the brand on her stomach was because of those people making it seem like she's their property, and she wished for her father to come rescue her instead of his country. She tells him she couldn't die, so she had to abandon everything and side with the empire that abandoned her. She doesn't feel like a princess, but after her father's death, she was the only heir to the throne. At night, he thinks that he couldn't do anything befitting a prince. He remembers wondering why his brother had killed all of them. He remembers his brother laughing at him in a crazed way, telling him that he was useful. They didn't have to use the whistle that summons hordes of abysses. He tells him that if he hadn't killed everyone, they would have assassinated him. His brother tells him that he doesn't understand anything. Lux wakes up, wondering how he fell asleep, and hears bells ringing. The teacher lets everyone know that an abyss appeared, and that there are security forces headed to eliminate it. They are the last line of defense and must be prepared to fight. Lisha tells him that she's heading off because the military is short-handed. She tells him not to worry because she's strong, and heads off. Eri asks him if something is wrong, and Lux realizes that there's been an increase in abyss recently, and doesn't know why. Lisha gets ready to attack the giant slime, but hears a whistle blowing. The slime explodes, and Fee hears the sound of a whistle and tells Lux. The slime explodes, and someone tells the eggs to hatch now. Hundreds of abysses appear, and a man comes from within. He tells her that he is a commander from the previous empire, and Lisha tells him that this is treason. He tells her that this is his homeland, and blows the whistle again. The abysses begin flying around, but Lisha attempts to hold them off with her laser cannons. However, another one begins attacking her as she keeps attacking, and she begins falling behind. One of the drag knights comes back telling them that they're in danger. Lux tells his sister that he will go to help Lisha, but his sister tells him that he can't do anything with his weak machine, especially without using his sword. He tells her not to worry and decides to head off. Lisha is still fighting against the dragons with her gravity weapon. She asks if the rest are safe, but they tell her that they're in no condition to continue fighting. Leisha says she will go for the leader to destroy his ability of controlling the abysses. The man blows the whistle again, and 3 of the abysses begin firing at her. As she attempts to dodge around, their leader strikes her down, and they see the entire Empire's rebellious army. Lux tells her to hold out, but she tells him that it's okay, because in the end, she couldn't do anything befitting of a princess. She tells him it's been difficult, but she truly wanted to be one and prove herself. The leader tells her to spare him the pitiful story, and rips her shirt to show her mark, telling her that he was the one who did that to her, and she remembers. She throws her sword towards him, and as he is about to end her, Lux comes to save her. Lux tells her that he also failed to achieve anything as a prince. He tried to save everyone but failed, so he has dedicated his life to saving people. His arm cuts off, but he activates his magical ability and releases his machine. He takes out his black sword. He gets covered in black armor, and they realize that he has the black divine raiment. Eri sees that her brother has released it, and the girl realizes he's the black hero. With his armor, he goes around annihilating all the abysses standing in his way. He explodes them one by one, and his sister remembers that he was the Drag Knight that single-handedly destroyed thousands of machine dragons.
Reload fire.
The next day, Lux goes to school and sees all the girls congratulating him on his amazing victory. Eri tells him that everyone prepared a surprise for him, and they hope that it's fitting for a prince of his status. Leisha comes in, trying to thank him but chokes on her words because his warm cream hasn't left her chest yet. Her friend comes in and says that Leisha meant she wanted to thank him by riding his draconic dick. Fee comes up, congratulating him, and Leisha calls her a ditzy girl for eating Lux's food before he eats it. The headmaster decides to have a toast, and all of them enjoy the meal, especially his sister feeding him because we need to have a sis-con plot. However, some girls think that they're all too relaxed around him, and Krulcifer sees this. The headmaster tells him that she has one more request for him, and tells him that she will be having a competition. Anyone who manages to capture this paper will get to use Lux for an entire week. She tells him that if he's able to hide and hold onto the paper for an hour, he won't be anyone's slave. Poor Lux begins running for his life. Throughout the entire campus, girls begin running to find him, and he hides in Leisha's shed. She tells him that he can hide here for the time being, but she wants to ask him about the Black Hero. Everyone who saw him will keep it a secret, but knowing his divine raiment ability will advance her research. Lux explains that his reload on fire can compress time and unleash it, but Leisha restrains him and tells him that he fell for the oldest trick in the book. Lux tells her that he will hand over the form if she lets him down.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Lux hides around campus, and Fee comes up to him from behind. Her sister had promised her cake if she caught him, so Fee uses all of her strength to restrain him. She happens to secretly be a black belt in karate. She uses her secret technique to make him lose his mind, and the red paper falls. She lets go of him to take the paper, but he grabs it and runs away after promising her some cake later. With only 10 minutes remaining, he hides inside the library and plans on hiding behind the boxes until time is up. The group of girls walk in and Krulcifer is among them. He realizes that he's managed to get stuck in the girls' changing room. Plot begins to develop, and they wonder if they should be careful of Lux getting handsy or trying to peep on them since he dropped on Leisha in the bathhouse. He feels guilty for how low his reputation is, and a girl asks Krulcifer to grab a book. While looking for the book, she notices that Lux is sitting there staring at her. Lux's entire life is over at that instant, and the girls wonder what's taking so long. Krulcifer says that she will follow them once she gets the book. After they leave, Krulcifer tells Lux that the coast is clear. She tells him that there's no need to hide anymore since an hour passed just a few minutes ago, and tells him she can hold on to his paper to protect it. Lux wonders why it just rung right now, but Krulcifer reveals that this was all part of her plan and will now get to do anything she wants to him throughout the week. All she had to do was move the clock hand to trick him. Krulcifer bends over, telling him that she wants him to blow her back out this next week.
What do you mean by that?
Lux wonders if she's in her right mind, Later that night, Eri warns him to stop drawing so much attention, and they enter a secret room where the headmistress is waiting. She shows him the dragon whistle, and reveals that it might be the key to entering the ruins that have been locked for the last century. They will invade it next week, and she wants Lux to try and open it for her. Lux understands his duty, but later that night, Eri tells him to be careful and use protection when blowing Krulsifer's back out. Sorry, I mean she warns him to be careful on his date with her next week because she might be hiding something. The next morning, Krulsifer begins explaining her wishes to him. She was forced to move to this kingdom because of a forced marriage for politics. But before losing her freedom, she wants to fulfill her personal goals, so she will use Lux to deceive her butler into thinking she has a boyfriend. She tells him to get closer, and gets in his ears. The girls start screaming. Krulsifer warns him that she will tell everyone about him peeping if he doesn't follow through. These girls are scary. Poor Lisha is getting c***ed again. At night, Krulsifer privately tutors Lux, but Lisha barges in to interrupt their time. Fee comes in and sleeps on Lux, and Lisha gets jealous again. Lisha isn't done with Krulsifer yet though. She tells Krulsifer that it's understandable that she's silent after finding out how far their relationship has developed. Krulsifer is unsure how this land views love and wonders if holding hands is that serious, but Lisha's friend reveals that she doesn't know much. Lux asks Lisha if she knows what a kiss is, and she blushes and says she knows exactly what it is. She tells him that they only do it after they're married and it's necessary for having children. Fee tries to reveal that she kissed Lux, but no one hears them. Krulsifer tells him to get rest so they can go on their date tomorrow, and Lisha bursts out in anger. The following morning, Krulsifer wears her cutest outfit to impress Lux, and walks around campus while trying to draw everyone's attention. This is all necessary to make sure everyone believes it's real, and we have Sherlock Holmes and Watson sneaking around. They go shopping for clothes at first, but Lux has never been in an expensive store even though he's a prince. Krulsifer tells him that she hasn't either because she's not like other nobles. Fee notices that Lux has taken his plot protection off, and Lisha wonders what the size of his Excalibur is.
Stop it. Get some help.
They walk out of the store and Krulsifer has ordered him suits to look like a proper prince. They go to enjoy dinner in the town, and as they walk during the sunset, Lux wonders why she's looking at him like that. Krulsifer tells him that he looks handsome from the side, but Lux tries to ask if the restaurant is right around. She tells him that she was too focused on his beauty to tell. Lux stares at her and wonders what she's thinking, but hears a whooshing noise coming from above. Bandits come and tell them that if they try anything stupid, their friends will blast them. Lux wonders if they're trying to kidnap them since they're from the royal family, but Krulsifer tells him that she will summon her machine dragon if he can distract them. Lux unsheathes his sword and destroys the bandits in front of him. Bullets come to destroy them, but Krulsifer blocks them from ending Lux. The mechas get in position to destroy her, but Krulsifer uses her wise blood ability to see into the future and destroys them in one blow. Lisha and Fee appear to explain the situation, but Lux asks why the f they're dressed like it's Halloween. They tell him it was part of their disguise to sneak around and save him, but Fee notices that a man is trying to escape. He tries to run away, but a mysterious woman appears from an alley and chokes the man in place. She tells Krulsifer that it's been a long time, and Krulsifer remembers she's Alterize. Bro, like actually what the f are these names? We'll call her Butler from now on. Shift Alt Tab Girl goes on to have dinner with them, and Lux wonders why Lisha and Fee joined them. Krulsifer introduces Lux as her boyfriend, and her butler wonders who this kid is. Lisha says that they're definitely not dating, but Lux tries to tell Lisha to stay quiet just for now. A man comes from behind, asking why they're mocking him right now. He tells Alterize that he couldn't wait to see his beautiful bride, and grabs her face to admire it. He holds her hand, introducing himself as Baltzaride. Okay, I'm f***ing done. Who the f*** named these characters? He's the head of one of the 4 great families who will marry Krulsifer, but she tells him that she's already in a relationship. The man laughs and says that this guy is a mere peasant compared to him. Krulsifer tells him to piss off and stop referring to her as his wife. The man decides to challenge Lux to a duel for Krulsifer's hand, and asks Lux what he thinks of this. Krulsifer suggests making this a 2-on-2, and tells him that he can pair with Alterize to fight them off. The man accepts the duel and tells them to be there, and Lux guarantees that he will show up. Later that night, the man learns about the secret to enter the ruins, and his informant happens to be none other than Lux's brother. In the morning, Krulsifer comes and thanks him for agreeing to the duel to save her. She wonders how he's still okay with this situation even though he's not her real boyfriend, and Lisha hears this and finally understands the situation. She's happy that Lux's heart belongs to Lisha after all, and Lux realizes there's no escaping her stupidity. She tells him that she will go and add more attacking methods to his Drag Knight, like a giant drill so he can pierce her heavens. Krulsifer tells Lux goodbye, and Lisha is still thinking about Lux's giant drill.
Stop it. Get some help.
Lux walks on campus, and Tilfer comes and tries dragging him away with her. She brings him to a mysterious room. They tell him they will take care of him after a long day, and this was apparently all Lisha's idea to make him happy. She gets angry after her secret was revealed, but Tilfer goes on to tell him that they dressed up like maids for him to make him feel better. Lisha hopes something like this wouldn't bother him, but Lux thanks her for her kindness. She goes on to tell him that she can do some indecent things if he would want as well. After all, Tilfer taught her that maids do all these kinds of things. Shoutouts to Tilfer for being a Giga Chad wingman. A council meets and discuss the fact that Ragnarok is upon them. The groom's family determine that they will take responsibility for entering the ruins and securing the weapon of destroying it. At the same time, the headmistress holds a secret meeting to discuss tomorrow's mission, and reveals that they will be using the whistle to enter the ruins. She entrusts Lux with the key to the ruins, and Lisha goes on to tell him that she will finally add the big drill to his machine. This girl really wants to get drilled. Giggity. Lux starts ignoring her and wondering why Krulsifer happens to be in this room. After the meeting, he asks her why she was attending when she's a transfer student, but she tells him to stop treating her like a special member since she got permission. She tells him goodbye and walks off. Later on, Lux spends time in the bath wondering what Krulsifer is after, but sees giant plot development cannons armed and ready to attack. Apparently, the genius headmistress is the one behind this, and Lux goes on to leave before having any plot development. Fee says that she only bathes with a guy she likes. They hadn't bathed in a long time, and Lux thinks that Fee has gained massive plot cannons. It's over for Lux and he tries his best to stay focused, but Fee begins falling asleep and is ready to drown. Lux grabs her and tries to wake her up.
We must stay focused, brothers. We must stay focused.
She wakes up and he wonders if something happened, but she begins falling asleep again. Lux notices that she had a scar on her back, but notices that it's disappeared since then. He wonders how this happened, but Fee goes on to tell him to make sure he's safe tomorrow. He promises he will be safe, but begins to pass out from all the heat and blood flow. The next day, the teacher introduces the head of their mission. It is none other than Barzaride, and Lisha asks what's the meaning of this. He tells her that he's mainly here just to help, especially since his future wife is among them. He wants to personally protect her if anything were to happen. They head out and arrive at the ruins before them. Krulsifer moves forward to enter the ruins, and Lux wonders why she's in such a hurry. A giant abyss comes from underneath the fog, but it's no regular abyss, it's a Diablo, one of the legendary abyss able to destroy an entire city alone. It rushes forward towards Lisha's friends, but Lux fends it off with his sword. However, even his sword begins to get crushed, so Lisha tries to save him from his impending doom. The dragon swerves around the entire field. While the abyss is attacking one of the knights, Krulsifer uses her wise blood to stop him in his place. Barzaride sees his opportunity and uses his divine raiment and sends the abyss flying back. He challenges Lux to a race to see who would beat the abyss first. Krulsifer comes to interrupt their feud and tells them to focus on completing the mission. She goes on to engage her wise blood, but the dragon's movements are all unpredictable now, and she fires without a single bullet hitting on target. The abyss launches a fire blow that rushes straight towards Krulsifer, but Lux saves her in the last second. The rest of the army engage their weapons to fight off the dragon, but all of their bullets miss. Barzaride launches his axe and manages to be the only one to slash the abyss down, but this shocks Krulsifer because this is the first time her wise blood's ever missed. The dragon, however, begins to shine a white aura and is about to self-destruct. The explosion blinds the entire field, and Lux notices that Krulsifer's armor is beginning to break down. The ruin begins to open a sequence of gates, and Lux rushes forward to try and save her from the explosion. Inside of his memories, Lux remembers his brother making sure he's okay after a giant explosion had destroyed the ground beneath him. He was trying to use a new technique, and his consciousness begins fading back. He sees that no one is around him, and wonders where he could have teleported to. Krulsifer reveals that they're likely in the ruins, and thanks Lux for saving her from the explosion. As they get closer to the center, Krulsifer collapses, but is determined to continue moving forward before she loses her last chance. She collapses once more, so Lux begins carrying her on his shoulder. They arrive at the entrance, and Lux wonders why she's been looking for the Black Hero this entire time. She reveals that the Black Hero is the only one who can ride his Drag Knight infinitely, so she wants to ride his Drag Knight infinitely.
What do you mean by that?
Inside the center of the room, they arrive at the altar, and Lux goes on to take out the key to the altar. However, it begins to activate, and the altar acknowledges Krulsifer to be the key to this altar. She reveals that she's not a human from this world, she's a survivor of the ruins. The structure begins to collapse from above them, and Lux grabs Krulsifer and begins running away. They manage to escape but are stuck inside of the ruins, but Krulsifer moves forward. These box-shaped objects was where Krulsifer was first found, revealing that she's not a real daughter of a royal family. Her father had found her abandoned here, so he adopted her and raised her with no memory of this place. But she knew that she didn't belong in their family. Everyone was distant from her and looked nothing like her, so she did her best to become a Drag Knight just to gain everyone's love. But the one thing she wanted the most, her siblings' love, she was never able to feel it. She wanted to believe that these ruins were fake, but the way they reacted to her proved that she was part of the ruins. She apologizes for bringing him along with a useless person like her. Lux tells her that even if no one else in the world cared about her, she's his friend and partner, so he doesn't want her to say sad things like that. Krulsifer tells him not to believe all the bullshit a woman says.
It's an evil world we live in.
She wonders how he could be so kind, so Lux reveals that it's likely because of his upbringing. He was kicked out of his house along with his mother and Eri, but there was one thing he could never forget. Nobody would help his family when his mother was bleeding out, and that was the last time he ever saw her. He hated everyone and became disgusted by every living person. But Fee was the only person that saved them. She was the only one who helped them even when he had no value, so she gave him hope to not hate everyone in the world. Krulsifer wonders if Lux's kindness would have saved her if he became the prince of the empire, but a giant drill comes and pierces the ground. Lisha asks him if he can finally realize that a drill is useful because she wants him to hurry up and drill her hole already. Lisha asks him if he did anything strange with Krulsifer, but Lux has no idea, and she calls him a lewd perv. Later that day, Eri lectures him for being so dumb and not getting any information out of the ruins, but hands him a herbal tea to help him recover for his big duel. Lux takes the drink and passes out. Eri wonders if this will satisfy Krulsifer, and she remembers her planning to do this so Lux wouldn't have to come and save her. At the duel site, Barzeride wonders where Lux is, but Krulsifer tells him that it will just be them two battling it out. Barzeride summons his Drag Knight, and Alterize goes on to also begin summoning her Drag Knight. However, Barzeride uses his magical ability to knock her unconscious. The battle between the two of them begins, and Krulsifer uses her wise blood to avoid all of the oncoming bullets. Barzeride does the unexpected, dropping his axe to grab Krulsifer's leg and activating his magical ability. None of Krulsifer's wise blood shots are able to land, and he finally reveals the true source of his power. He fires 3 bullets that pierce her armor, and flanks her from the back to slash her down with his giant axe. As he stood over her, it became clear to Krulsifer the only reason he tagged along was to observe her Drag Knight's divine raiment ability, and he was also the person who sent the bandits to attack her. The information from the battle allowed him to gain the edge in this duel. Barzeride calls her a mere tool that can't do anything against a man such as him, and tells her that no one in this world can save her. However, a sword comes slashing down, and Lux apologizes for being late. Clad in his black divine raiment, the Black Hero has finally arrived. Lux tells him that he will never hand his girlfriend over to him, and Barzeride challenges him to come and take her. Lux rushes forward in full throttle, attempting to pierce his barriers with his mighty power, but Barzeride strikes him down. But now Lux finally understands. The reason he can read his movements is because he stole Krulsifer's wise blood. His divine raiment steals the opponent's divine raiment and drains the energy from their Drag Knight. That's why her butler's energy was sucked right away. Barzeride praises him for noticing, but fires directly towards Krulsifer, giving Barzeride the opportunity to latch onto Lux and steal his reload on fire ability. His speed multiplies and he vanishes throughout the field to strike down towards Lux. Unable to do anything against his divine raiment, Lux barely manages to hold his ground. Arzaride reveals that he promised the Empire he would fight off Ragnarok for the new Empire, and he needs to collect all the powers he can. The way he sees it, a single woman is nothing compared to saving an entire country. However, something changes in Lux's armor, and it begins flashing red. Krulsifer begs him to stop playing the role of her boyfriend. She's merely nothing and was only using him as a tool. In the end, she shouldn't have bothered a person to involve himself with her. No one has ever cared for her and it should have stayed that way. Lux's armor flashes, and he tells her that she's his lover. He will save her no matter what happens. After the battle ends, Noct wonders how Lux continued fighting, so Eri reveals that he lost control of his Dragnite on purpose to gain its extreme power. Lux goes to Krulsifer, saying the battle is over and tells her to come back home with him. She cries and accepts, holding his hand. The next day, Lisha continues following Lux around because it's the last day of the contract. Lux screams in shock, and the butler tells him that Krulsifer's family has approved him to be her fiancé. The butler apologizes for all the trouble and excuses herself. Krulsifer tells him to sit next to her and to quit bothering the customers. Their relationship was fake, so he wonders why this is still ongoing. But Krulsifer reminds him that he screamed he's her lover during the duel. Lux tries to say that he was just being impulsive and asks her to stop making fun of him. Krulsifer responds that after being with him for a week, she realized she didn't like weak-minded p***y boys. Lux laughs in pain and dies inside, but she tells him that he actually has an aggressive side. Poor Lisha is getting again. Poor Lisha isn't getting just she's getting giga. Krulsifer moves back and licks her lips. She grabs Lux's face and tells him that if they were to get married, she would be kissing his hard metal drag while riding it.
What do you mean by that?
Lisha barges in and yells at them for leaving her out. A few nights later, a girl with black hair walks around campus and the other girls realize they haven't seen her before. She continues running around, and a teacher tells the girl to hurry home before the creepy stalker comes to her. She notices something is off about the girl, but decides to just leave her alone. Poor Lux has no idea how no one has realized it's him yet. Earlier, a girl was telling Lux that Ragnarok has been unleashed, and Lux remembers Blazaride's words. However, Charis tells him not to worry because there's another girl who can fight Ragnarok. Celes is her name, and she's the strongest among third years. She will be returning soon, but she hates men more than anything in this world. Charis has a solution for this problem. However, so Noct and Tilfer restrain Lux and they reveal their ultimate plan to dealing with this problem. They take off his plot armor. Poor Lux can't get a break. While sitting at the bench at night, he wonders what type of person Celes is, but he hears someone talking in the bushes. The blonde girl talks to a cat, but the cat begins walking away. Poor girl is so lonely even the cat doesn't care. He wonders who this girl is, and the mysterious creep approaches Lux. In an instant, he unsheathed his blade and is ready to end Lux. The blonde girl rushes in, parrying the sword and threatening to attack, but the mysterious stalker throws a smoke bomb. While they're distracted, the stalker throws a blade towards the girl, but Lux covers for her and gets injured. The blonde girl rushes him to the infirmary and tells him to take off his jacket. However, Lux can't blow his cover, so he asks her to do it from the back.
What do you mean
After she finishes, Lux asks her why she was talking to the cat. The girl gets flustered and tells him to forget about it, and that it's not like she has no friends to talk with or anything like that. The next day, Lux sits down and remembers the events from last night. He introduced himself as Luno to the girl, and she happened to be the man-hater, Celes. Lisha begins calling out his name, but he's too zoned out to pay attention. Plot development enters the chat, and Krulsifer asks him if he would like to take a rest during their private tutoring session and see where things take them. Lisha yells at her to stop since their fake lover stuff ended last week, and Lux gives up. At a different part in the kingdom at night, a mysterious man walks around the jail cells. Barzaride begs the man to let him out, but the man points his finger towards Barzaride's chest, and a second later, his insides begin exploding. He then blows the abyss whistle, and the abyss begin gathering around the kingdom. The next morning, Lux gets determined to face Celes in order to fight off Ragnarok, but Tilfer calls for him because there's trouble running around. He hears Celes begging for Lux to be kicked out of the academy since he's the only man here, but Lisha calls her a blockhead. Lux enters and Celes introduces herself again, telling him that he can't attend their academy because he's the only male. Lux asks her to help with the suppression of Ragnarok, but Celes tells him that she will face Ragnarok alone. Lux still refuses to leave because there's no chance she can face Ragnarok off alone. The headmaster tries to calm them down, and suggests that the best way to settle this entire situation would be by having them duel one another. They will be traveling to an island for 3 days of training and duel each other before leaving. Lisha bets that Lux will win, but Celes agrees to the conditions and leaves the room with a girl called Sania. At night, Sania thanks Celes for trying to throw Lux out today and bids her good night. After Sania leaves, Celes thinks this whole situation is terrible, but winning the duel will be the only way she could protect Lux and the school. At the island, Celes takes command of their training, but Lux notices a building in the distance and wonders if he's seen this place before. At night, Lux wonders how Celes was able to train so much harder than anyone else, and Krulsifer reveals that Celes' nature has always been this way, but she's always looked bothered by something. Before they head off to bed, Lux tries to give Charis her clothes back, but Tilfer and Noct think this is a boring development because they fit him so well. Sania calls for Lux for an urgent request, so he enters the room and realizes that the only thing that's going to be longer than this night is his dick. Celes wonders if anything's wrong, so Lux immediately switches to his girl voice and wonders why she would call him here. She asks him to massage her and eventually asks him to change. Lux tries to leave, but she begs him to stay a little longer, so he decides to switch into his woman outfit before she notices it's really him. Celes finally gets up and notices that Luna is the one who's here. Seeing her only friend excites her, however, Lux tries to leave before she catches onto his disguise. His attempts to leave sadden Celes, so she asks if she would like to hang out tomorrow instead. Lux tries to do everything to get out of this situation, but Celes thinks that Luna must not like her after all, so Lux reluctantly agrees to hang out with her. This cheers Celes up, but she notices Luna's sword happens to be here. After unsheathing it, Celes thinks it's a pretty device and hands it back to Lux. He leaves the room, but Sania wonders why Luna is sticking around Celes' room. Krulsifer interrupts to say that Luna was only there because she asked her to meet at this place, and asks Sania why she was watching over Celes' door so carefully. Sania is caught with her dick in her hand, so she decides to leave. Krulsifer tells Lux to come with her, and Lux wonders how she knew it was him. She told him she'd never forget her precious Lux. She warns him of Sania because she seems to want him kicked out of this academy. That same night, Fee stares outside the window at the moon, and Lux wakes up and sees the intense plot development in front of him. Lux wonders what she's doing here at this time, and Fee asks him if he would want a hug. He remembers hearing Fee's words telling him that hugs cheer you up. He smiles and tells her that he's not a child anymore, but Fee tells him that she doesn't think he's changed, and that he's always been the same. She hugs him, telling him that even if he loses, she will fight Celes for him, and will make sure that they will never throw him out. The next morning, Lux plays with his fake plot, and Celes finally approaches him to begin their day out together. Throughout the town, she takes him to all kinds of shops, and eventually leads him to a bathing dress shop. She asks him if he would like to try one, but he runs away and says that he has a fever. Celes takes care of him but apologizes for not being a proper escort. Lux tells her that she's wrong, and that he's been having fun walking around with her all this time. Celes hugs Luno, telling him that she's so happy to have found a kind friend. They eat crackers together, but Lux notices that Celes has fallen asleep during the middle of the day. An eagle's screech wakes her up, and she realizes that she can't be showing her weakness. Lux wonders why she's always forcing herself to stay strong like this, so she tells him that strong people should endure their loneliness. He starts laughing, remembering how she was talking to a cat. She gets embarrassed and tells him to forget it already because it's not like she was alone in the Imperial capital and filled with loneliness or anything.
Stop the cap! Stop the cap right now!
Celes gives up. She even hates how everyone thinks she's a man-hater here, and asks Luno if she could keep a secret. She tells Luno that she's not a man-hater at all, and actually wants to ride Lux's giant dragon.
I'm not going to judge your journey. It is your fantasy.
The next day at the castle, investigative reports have found that Ragnarok's empty husk was found, but it appears that the body likely disappeared somewhere in the ocean. Celes changes for her swimming practice, and Sonia asks if Celes is going to allow that man to swim with them. After being silent for a moment, she then reveals that she actually doesn't hate men. If anything, she's fond of them since her teachers have always taken care of her. However, she can't rely on a younger man in her position, and will do anything to defeat Lux. Beach scene, you know what that means: plot, plot, and even more plot. At the beach, the girls call for Lux by the name Lux Echai. He sees all the plot and looks away from them. I told you this guy couldn't look at girls even if they asked him to. Krulsifer explains that it's okay since it's not underwear, and Fee splashes him with her giant water guns. Sorry, not those. Fee continues splashing him until he runs away from the situation and finds Leisha struggling. She's worried her outfit will reveal her mark, but Lux tells her that it's okay since she's as flat as a surfboard.
Yo, that one there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have it.
Leisha yells at him, and we get an from the headmaster. Eri notices that she's outclassed in every single way and gets depressed. Lux asks her what's wrong, but she calls him a perv, and Leisha calls him a cis-con. Mrs. Giant Cannonballs finally appears and asks the headmaster why Lux is joining them. She wonders where Luno is, and Lux realizes that he's screwed. Charis pulls him away and hands him a bikini to wear for the beach. Tilfer is excited by this because she wants to see swimsuit Lux Echai. Immediately, Lux runs away but bumps into Celes. Celes mocks him for having so much free time to go to the beach and leaves coldly. This puzzles Lux, because he remembers her telling Luno that she wanted to apologize to Lux. She had learned her swordsmanship from his grandfather after all, but in the end, she was the reason for his death. Her only remaining wish was to make sure that his grandson doesn't face the same fate, so she must beat him against all odds. Lux sits alone in his room, knowing he can't lose either. In the distance, the mysterious stalker oversees them and meets up with Lux's brother. The next day, the duel between the two of them is finally about to begin. The winner will gain one wish, and she asks if both of them are okay with the conditions. They agree and they both draw their swords. The girls notice that Lux is using his wyvern instead of his black drag ride to keep his identity concealed. The two dash towards each other and clash their swords, but the mysterious stalker runs around in the forest. Charis and Tilfer catch the mysterious man after intercepting all their letters and have uncovered the true identity of the stalker. It's none other than Sania, and she takes her covering off. She reveals her mission is to kill everyone here and overthrow the new empire. Immediately, she unsheaths her sword and the dragon whistle is heard. Her divine raiment pulsates and begins to transform, enlarging in size and strength. Meanwhile, Lux continues parrying all of Celes' attacks while dodging her, but she releases her magical energy and sends a lightning bolt to pulverize Lux. He begins to lose control of his drag ride, allowing him to activate Recoil Burst and rush towards her. In an instant, she vanishes away and teleports behind Lux. But just before she is able to launch her attack, loud screams begin to deafen their ears. Tentacles pierce the ground and throw Celes out of control. Eri runs around and notices that Fee is the only one missing. Deep in the forest, Fee struggles to keep walking and collapses, but her sister hugs her. She promises to never let anyone take her away again, even if they have to ally with this damn new empire. Lux holds on to Celes, asking her if she's okay. Before them is the Ragnarok that's believed to be close to resurrection. Celes vows to destroy it alone and rushes towards the Ragnarok while dodging the tentacles. She activates Divine Gate and teleports towards the head of the Ragnarok, shooting from point blank onto the Ragnarok and then slashing it down. After crushing the enemy, she struggles to continue flying, but Sania appears looming over them. She warns her that this fight is long from over and the Abyss whistle is blown once again. Lux sees the man and wonders why his brother is here. The Ragnarok revives from the ground and is fully healed. Sania rushes to end Celes, but Lux barely manages to deflect her blow. Sania calls him a clown, wondering if he knows the truth about his grandpa, because after all, the one who killed him was none other than Celes. Lux is unfazed, having already known this, but the Ragnarok launches a smoke plume for Sania to create some distance. Sania takes this opportunity to shoot him down. After a while, Lux finally manages to wake up Celes from being unconscious. She sees him and apologizes for not telling him about his grandfather's death. During her childhood, she had learned that there may be corruption in the former empire, But when she told Lux's grandfather, they imprisoned and killed him, throwing the rest of his family out of his palace. Still, his last words encouraged her to always seek the truth, because she happened to be right. This is why she's always wanted to defend Lux, and apologizes for deceiving him and lying to him all this time. She wonders if he must be upset, but Lux tells her that she's wrong. He unsheathed the black sword, revealing that he's also been deceiving her all this time. This time, however, he will no longer deceive her. The pitch-black divine drag ride appears before Celes. Lux tells her that he's never hated her and loves her awkwardness. He takes off, flying straight towards Ragnarok. In an instant, he destroys Sanya standing in his way. As he gets closer, he activates his reload on fire, and even as the Ragnarok launches his tentacles towards him, Lux's incredible speed allows him to destroy every single one of them. This is his hidden skill and action. Celes points her spear towards Sanya, commanding her to surrender before she becomes a prisoner, but Sanya refuses. She knows that Celes would never stab her, so Sanya bids her goodbye and flies away. However, the battle is far from over. A white crystal appears from Ragnarok's center, and Sanya quickly takes it along with the mysterious man. The mysterious man finally takes off his cover, and Lux realizes that it's not his brother. This boy's name is Hayes, and he promises to revive the nightmare from 5 years ago. Sanya launches an attack towards Lux and they disappear. After they're gone, Lux stares at that same building from before. In Celes' room, Lux treats Celes, but she will not forgive him for deceiving her this entire time with the Luno act. Lux wishes he could somehow amend things, but Celes thinks it's most miserable that she's so happy to have been saved by him. She's never understood the feelings of men, but wishes for him to teach her just like his grandfather used to. If he does, then she will approve his entry back into the academy. Lux promises that he will, but tells her only if she gets on her knees and while staring at the building once more that night, he tries to remember the nightmare from 5 years ago. However, all the images in his head appear distorted and dark, and he realizes that he really can't remember it. Interrupting his thoughts, the ground rumbles and a giant object begins exiting the ocean. A giant whale-like object appears in the sky. It's one of the ruins. The headmaster goes on to reveal the real reason she's brought them to this camp. 9 years ago, Lux remembers his brother destroying an expensive statue. They tried to hide the fact it was their fault by blaming it on one of the girls, and they picked Fee to take all the blame. Inside the headmaster's office, the principal asked her why she would do such a thing, but Lux enters the room and claimed he was the one who broke the statue. While he walked away, Fee held his hand, thanking him for taking the blame even though he wasn't the one who did it. She tells him not to apologize when he's not the one at fault, and hands him a cookie. He eats it, and she calls him Lu Chan. Her name is Fee, and when he says it, she smiles back at him. The next morning, Lux comes to Fee's room. She tells him that she will be participating in the ruins investigation along with him. Leisha comes in and asks him to come with her for a moment. She tells him that this will be how he gets rid of his drag rides limiter, the over limiter. Once he gets his release code, he will be able to unlock his drag knight's true form. But he must be careful because the consequences could be fatal. Underneath the ruins, everyone gathers to begin the investigation. Eri tells Lux that she'll be joining along with him and asks him to protect her insides. Sorry, I meant protect her inside the ruins. They armor up and the ruins gate begins to activate. Inside the ruins, they must traverse 11 floors to reach the heart of the ruin, so they decide to split up into teams to investigate the ruins thoroughly. Lux is assigned the 6th floor, and Celes is excited to join his team, but Eri tells her to investigate the 3rd floor instead. Poor Celes is lonely all again. Lux tries to cheer her up by promising to meet up with her halfway through. Her happiness is apparent, and the other girls think she's definitely after Lux as well. While traveling around, Eri tells him not to touch Noct just because no one else is around. However, Noct reveals that Eri shouldn't be worried because Lux is too much of a pussy to stare at a girl even if she asked him to. Lux tries to finally deny the allegations, but Noct asks him to point out one thing he likes about her. He tells her that he loves the giant plot cannons she has.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now.
Noct thinks he's too much of a pussy after all, and Eri gets jealous. The radar detects a nearby living object, and Lux goes to investigate. When turning the rubble over, he finds a mysterious girl sleeping. Krulsifer catches up with them, realizing that this being is likely dangerous, so she asks Eri and Noct to leave before being harmed. What's all that plot? Krulsifer knows this person isn't a human, so she strokes her face and the being wakes up. The girl states that her system is booting up and acknowledges Krulsifer to be her master. The girl thinks no one called for her, so she falls back to sleep. Krulsifer and Lux wonder what's going on, so the girl introduces herself as the supervisor of the ruins. She's an automaton, however, she has no recollection of the past because she's slept too much and begs them not to abandon her. The girl promises to follow her orders as administrator. They introduce the robotic girl to the rest of the crew, but Lux notices that something is off about Fi. He doesn't want her to push herself and tells her to join his group until they've completed this mission. He begins carrying her around, and the headmaster notices something is off about her sister. They reach the Abyss production area, but Fi begins wincing in pain and warns him that something's coming. The Abyss whistle is blown, and Hayes is ready to activate the next part of his plan. Lux puts Fi down, but an Abyss rushes towards him to knock him off balance. It happens to be a Diablos, and Lux barely manages to fend it off Tilfer. The Diablos rushes towards Lux and destroys his arm. However, this Diablos isn't the only one, and Krulsifer alerts him that 2 other Diablos are roaming outside. Lux asks the headmaster to finish the mission before the Diablos attack innocent people, but the headmaster tells him to shut up and obey her already. However, Fi activates her drag ride to try and protect people, so Lux activates his black divine raiment to try and catch up with her. As he travels next to her, Fi reveals that she can pinpoint the exact location of the Abyss, puzzling Lux. He asks her if she's ever been to this island before, but the gate underneath them teleports them outside of the ruin. The Diablos rushes towards Lux, but Fi uses her ability to grab the Abyss and smash it onto the ground. When Lux lands, a sudden shock enters his brain, and this sensation begins reminding him of the events that took place. He remembers exactly what happened, but before he can react, the Diablos attacks Fi and sends her launching into the building. Lux flies to destroy the Diablos. His ambush overpowers the enemy along with the speed of his strikes, destroying it in an instant to find where Fi might be. He enters the building and notices an underground secret area. When he enters the ruins, he remembers exactly what happened in this place. It used to be a human experimentation zone, and he was here 5 years ago, and so was Fi. Deeper inside, he finds Fi burning up with pale skin. She warns him that an Abyss is near, but Lux says that he's already defeated it. However, she tells him the Abyss is now here,